Today, we're jumping into the incredible story of Olufemi Peter Otedola, who is, without a doubt, one of Africa's most fascinating billionaires. But his journey from a local entrepreneur to a global powerhouse didn't kick off in some fancy boardroom or a university business class. No, it started way, way earlier than that. So that's the real question, right? When you picture a billionaire, you're probably thinking of massive deals, or maybe some tech genius launching a startup from their garage. But what if I told you that the seeds of this particular empire were planted when the founder was barely tall enough to see over a kitchen table? Yep, you heard that right. 6 years old. It's an age that seems almost impossible for starting a business, but that is exactly what Femi Otedola did. Let's get into how he pulled it off. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. We're talking about a young kid who wasn't just playing around. He was building a company, and he even gave it its own brand name, Femco. Look, this was not just a kid asking for some pocket money. This was a full-blown business model from day one. The service? A professional nail-cutting service for his family and any guests they had over. He charged a fee, of course, and this is the part that just blows my mind. He issued official handwritten receipts for every single transaction. Even at 6, he already understood the importance of making things official. Incredible. So, as Otedola got a little older, his business education took another really unconventional turn. He landed an apprenticeship that, honestly, no school on earth could ever offer. All right, think about the typical teenage job, right? Flipping burgers, bagging groceries, something like that. Well, Femi Otedola's job description was just a little different. He was the personal assistant and chauffeur for his dad, who just so happened to be the governor of Lagos State. So you can see this wasn't really about driving, it was about getting access and just observing how things worked at the absolute highest levels. I mean, can you imagine that? Being a fly on the wall in meetings that were literally shaping the future of Nigeria's largest city. He wasn't just learning about business from a textbook. He was soaking up all the little details of leadership, the mechanics of politics, and what public service actually means, all from the driver's seat. So, armed with this totally unique foundation, Otedola was finally ready to build his own empires. And he didn't start small. Nope, he went straight for the heart of the economy, commodities and logistics. This is really where you see his raw ambition and strategic mind click into high gear. He starts with a company called Centriforce, mastering the super complex world of finance and commodity trading. But here's the brilliant part. Instead of just growing that one business, he asked a bigger question. Why am I paying somebody else to ship my goods? And that thinking led directly to C4 shipping. See, he wasn't just expanding, he was building his own self-contained system, controlling both the products and their transport. This move was a total game changer, making him Nigeria's largest ship owner and a critical player in West Africa's energy logistics. It was just a masterclass in strategy, where every success fueled the next big idea. Now, because he grew up observing power from the inside, Otedola understood that in a country like Nigeria, business and politics are almost always connected. His next moves would show him navigating both of those worlds with some serious skill. So, in 2006, he joins the board of Transcorp, which was this huge conglomerate backed by the president at the time. A few years later, he had very close ties to President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. Now, the key takeaway here isn't about politics, it's about pure strategy. Having that access to policy discussions gave him a massive advantage in understanding and navigating all the rules and regulations for his growing energy empire. And a key economic idea driving everything back then was privatization. Basically, the government was transferring industries it owned over to private companies. Otedola's business strategy was perfectly in sync with this whole agenda, which allowed him to position his companies to become major players in Nigeria's newly private electricity market. So, what can we all learn from this absolutely wild journey? Well, we've distilled his story into 4 core entrepreneurial lessons that really apply to anyone, no matter what you do. First things first, just start. Action is so much more important than credentials. A 6-year-old with a nail-cutting kit didn't wait for a business degree. He just saw a chance, and he went for it. That first small step was probably the most powerful one he ever took. Second lesson, learn by being close to the action. Otedola's greatest education came from being in the right car, in the right rooms, listening to the right conversations. You don't always have to be the one talking. Sometimes the most valuable thing you can do is just be close enough to listen and learn from the people who are. Number 3, Treat every single success like a stepping stone. His journey wasn't just a series of random ventures. Centerforce laid the foundation for C-Force, which then built the momentum for him to dominate the energy sector. Each business was a launchpad for the next one, creating this powerful, compounding effect. And finally, you have to ride the big waves. Otedola didn't try to fight against national economic policy. He understood which way the wind was blowing with things like privatization, and he positioned his businesses to catch that wind. Understanding the big picture is just as crucial as perfecting the small details. Which really just leaves us with one final thought. Femi Otedola's entire empire started with a notebook, a nail cutter, and some handwritten receipts. It's such a powerful reminder that the biggest ventures often have the most humble beginnings. So the question for you is, what's that small, simple idea you have today that could be the foundation for your own empire tomorrow?